Hey guys, we're going to get started with Blender. The version I'm using currently is 2.59. You guys will be, I'll be upgrading the lab to 2.61, if not a newer one. Okay, when you open it, this is what it'll look like. You can go ahead and left click. Some obvious things that I want to point out to you. To select an object, you right click. Okay, so right here, this is your camera. You'll always start out with this cube here, which is your object, and then right here this is your light source, and all that's important when you go and you render your animation or your design. Blender's a 3D program, so you have the X, Y, and Z axis, and you can see down here red will be X, green will be Y, and blue will be Z. And you need to know that, so make sure you put that into memory. Okay, so 3D, it's a 3D program much like we've used before with Google SketchUp as well as Animation Master. Okay, right now what I'm doing, I'm just holding the middle mouse button, and by doing that you can rotate in 3D, so you could pause the video and do that. Okay, like I said before, to select an object you can right click on it, and when you do that you'll see that the three axes come up, so you have arrows for each of the axes. We've got red, which is the X, green is the Y, and then blue is the Z axis. Blue is up and down. Okay, and what I'm doing right now is I'm left clicking on the arrows to move an object, and that's the most precise way to do it. Go ahead and pause the video and practice that. Okay, welcome back. These little squares, you'll see that there's a grid down here. Those are called Blender units. So if I refer to a Blender unit, like moving it to Blender units, I'm talking about those little squares. And Blender units aren't specific to a certain size, like inches or centimeters or miles. Blender lets you determine the scale. Okay. Next thing, let's talk about camera views. On your number pad, much like in Animation Master, there are buttons that correspond on the number pad to different cameras. So the ones that you need to know, 7 will show you from the top. See it up here, it'll say top perspective. So go ahead and make sure your number lock is on and hit 7. 1 will show you from the front, and you can see that it's on the front perspective up here. 3 will show you from the right perspective, and then the last one is 0, and that's your camera. Okay, so to review, 7's from the top, 1 is from the front, 3 is from the right, and 0 is your camera's perspective. And if you hold the middle mouse button and drag, you can kind of change out of that, and that's just a user perspective. Scrolling the mouse button, the middle mouse button will zoom in and out. Okay. Alright, 3 keys that I want you guys to learn. First one is S. So if you press S and then you move your mouse in or out, you can scale an object. So S will scale. The next one is R. R will rotate an object. Okay, and you can always do Control Z to undo. And then G will grab an object. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video right now. Practice using the S, R, and G keys. Okay, now that you've done that, you should know that S will scale, R will rotate, and G will grab. I prefer to use the arrows to move the object. I think it's just the easiest way to do it. Okay. If you want to get a new choreography or a new start, you can just go to File New, and that'll open up a new one. You can start fresh. Alright, there's two things. You have two modes, I should say, edit mode and object mode. So by pressing tab, you can switch. Okay, so edit mode, when you're in edit mode and you hit tab, it'll say mesh tools up here, and you can use that to edit your object. So we're going to go ahead and zoom in on our cube and say we want to select a face. You can right click Down here are basically the select modes. So you have a vertex select mode. Vertexes are the little points. You have an edge select, and you select it by right clicking. And to select more than one, you would hold shift. And go ahead and just practice as I do it. And then this right here is your face select mode. Okay, let's go ahead and select a face. Use the face select mode and then right click on a face. And I want to talk about another button. E is used to extrude. So press E and you can pull it out. And what I want you to do is pause the video and practice extruding your cube. So go ahead and do that. And what you can do, if you're back with me here, select a cube, extrude it with E, and then use S and you can scale it. And you can use E, you can pull it out, and you can use R and you can rotate it. So use the keys that we talked about, S, R, and G. Go ahead and practice using those and see what you can come up with. Also, you can select the vertices and you can hit E and you can pull it out, and you can select multiple vertices and hit G and grab it. And just go ahead and do that and practice using it. Once you're done, the last thing we're going to do is save it. So you're going to go to File, Save As, and it's a little different. This is what it'll look like. Okay, very important. The Y drive is our 506. So you're going to click on the Y drive. You're going to go to your period, your folder, and you should have a Blender folder in there, and I don't. So I'm going to try to make one here. Create new directory. Okay, and I'll name it Blender since I don't have a Blender folder. If you don't have one, you can do the same thing. Up here is where it'll save it. So it's saving on the 506 period 2 Mr. Groff, and then I need to open the Blender folder. And then for the file name, we'll just name it practice.blend. Okay, so the file extension is always .blend. So you want to make sure that it's in the right Blender folder and that the file name is named practice.blend. Once you have that, you want to click Save as a Blender file. And just go ahead and practice the keys that we've learned, S, R, and G, and E. Practice using the different camera modes, and that'll be it for this video. Thank you.